Hi everyone, I am happy to present this lecture 12 in Control Systems lecture series. So this is a presentation on correlation between time and frequency domain specifications. This is the first presentation on frequency domain analysis. So far up to lecture 11 we have discussed about the time domain analysis. So we will see how this frequency domain specifications are correlated to time domain specifications. So the learning objectives of this presentation are to describe the frequency response and obtain frequency domain specifications, then to establish a correlation between time and frequency domain specifications. Introduction. In the time domain analysis, what we have done is we have chosen the desired closed loop poles using root locus technique in such a way that the desired response is achieved. That means the system takes care of stability as well as the transient response. Of course, steady state performance is also taken into consideration. In frequency response analysis, more graphical tools are available which can be effectively used in controller and compensator design. So we are going to see how to design a controller or compensator to obtain the desired response. For that, frequency response analysis will play crucial role. So you can use better than the root locus technique. Frequency response is a steady state output of the system when the input is a sinusoidal signal. So when you give a sinusoidal input signal, what is the steady state output of the system? So seeing that is called the frequency response. That means we are going to fix the input magnitude and then vary the frequency. So that is what given in the next bullet. So a LTIV system is given by an input R of t given by A sin omega t, where A is the amplitude of the input signal, omega is the frequency of the input signal. It is very much similar to our sinusoidal supply. Then a stable LTIV system will have output as controlled output C of t as B sin omega t plus phi, where B is the amplitude of the output signal. So this B divided by A is called gain. If B is greater than A, we can say that is the gain that the output has got over the input R of t. If B is less than A, we can say it is attenuation. So plus phi, this phi is the phase difference between the input and output. If phi is positive, we can say that the output leads the input. If phi is negative, output lags behind the input. What are the advantages of frequency response analysis over time domain response analysis? So in frequency domain analysis, root locus is the ultimate thing, because that is the technique by which one can design the closed loop poles for meeting the desired response. So the absolute and relative stability of the closed loop system can be easily estimated from the open loop frequency response, which is very easy. Whereas we have to go for construction of root locus and route stability criterion in the case of time domain analysis. It is straightforward. Then practical testing of the system can be easily carried with the available function generator or signal generator, sinusoidal signal generator, and other precise measurement equipments. So we can easily carry out the testing with the help of the instruments available for frequency response analysis. Then transfer function of sophisticated or complicated systems can be experimentally determined by frequency response tests. So even for the systems for which you don't know the transfer function, you can easily find out the same by plotting the frequency response experimentally. That is, experimentally find out the gain and the phase difference, as I have already said. So vary the input frequency by keeping the amplitude fixed with the help of a signal generator. Then find out the output. Then phase difference between the input and output also can be done. So with the help of even normal oscilloscope or digital storage oscilloscope, cathode ray or digital storage oscilloscope, we can see this gain and the phase difference. Then design and parameter adjustment can be easily carried out in the frequency domain specification. See, the root locus technique is actually an approximate technique. Further, you have to apply the rules. To meet the desired specifications, you have to draw the damping ratio line, and you have to check whether the point that you are choosing is on the damping ratio line or not, because we have to satisfy the angle criterion. So it is a tedious and time consuming process, especially when we go for fourth or higher order systems. Even finding the breakaway points is not so easy, because we have to differentiate and solve that equation. So dk by d is equal to 0. So this is not a problem in the case of frequency response. That is why design and parameter adjustment can be easily carried out in the frequency response analysis. Then for any input, we can find out the output using the readily available mathematical tools. So we have Fourier transform, Z transform, inverse Fourier transform, all that available. So for any input, we can find out the output. Then once you know the frequency response, we can find out the time response also. So to find out the time response, you have to do the inverse transform, that's all. So frequency response can be measured, as I said, with the help of an oscillator, amplitude and phase measuring devices. So these are some of the advantages of frequency response analysis over the time response analysis. So that is why one goes for frequency response analysis. The limitations of frequency response analysis. Generally, these methods are applicable only to linear systems, but most of the systems in practice, they are non-linear. They are not linear. They are linear only in certain range, certain operating region. Therefore, when we are applying to the non-linear systems, we have to be very careful in applying the same. Then when we want to obtain the frequency response practically, it is a time consuming process, because we have to vary the frequency over a wide range, and we have to measure the gain and the phase difference. So when you go for big systems, so for complex systems, it is going to take more time. Let us discuss about the frequency domain specifications. Resonant peak or peak resonance. It is similar to the peak overshoot in time domain. So it is the maximum value of the magnitude of the closed loop transfer function. Next frequency domain specification is resonant frequency. It is the frequency at which the resonant peak or the peak resonance occurs. Bandwidth, so this term we are very much conversant with already. Range of frequencies for which the system gain is more than minus 3 dB or more than 1 by root 2, because 20 logarithm of 0.707 or 1 by root 2 is minus 3 dB. Cutoff rate, slope of the log magnetic curve near the cutoff frequency. Let us see how to obtain the frequency domain specifications. For a second order system, we know C of s by R of s equal to omega n square by s square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square in S domain. In frequency domain analysis, whenever we want to do analysis, we have to put s is equal to j omega, because when you put s is equal to j omega, that means we are doing sinusoidal frequency response analysis. So wherever we have s in the C of s by R of s expression in the second order system, we have replaced s with omega, that's all, j omega. So omega n square by j omega square plus 2 zeta omega n s is again j omega plus omega n square. So here I am making a substitution. U is equal to omega by omega, and this is normalized signal frequency. To express this in that form, I divide both numerator and denominator by omega n square. So this is 1, and this is omega n square by omega n square is 1, and this is j omega square is j square omega square by omega n square. So minus omega square by omega n square is minus u square, plus j 2 zeta omega n by omega n square is omega by omega n finally. So j 2 zeta u. So if you find out the magnitude, it is a complex number. So magnitude is 1 by root of 1 minus u square whole square plus 2 zeta u whole square. So phase difference we know, we have to do tan inverse of imaginary by real part. So numerator there is no complex part, so 0, minus denominator is tan inverse of 2 zeta u by 1 minus u square. Now we have to find out resonant frequency, resonant peak bandwidth. To find out the resonant peak, we have to get where the magnitude becomes peak or maximum value. So we know very well that maximum value we can obtain with respect to a parameter if we differentiate the function with respect to the parameter. The parameter is u, frequency. So differentiate m, this m with respect to u, and that u is your normalized resonant frequency. So we can use u by v rule. So we can square root, we can make it as half. So if we take it to the numerator, minus half. So u by v rule, if we apply, we will get this. Therefore this has to be equal to 0, means when we expand the numerator, 4ur cube minus 4ur plus 8 zeta square ur equal to 0. So if we solve this, you can take ur outside, then ur equal to 0 is 1, another one is 4ur square minus 4 plus 8 zeta square ur. So ur cannot be 0, that is what we are finding out. Therefore if we solve that quadratic equation, finally ur equal to root of 1 minus 2 zeta square. Therefore from this relation what is understood is, whenever zeta is greater than 1 by root 2, this will be greater than 1, therefore this resonant frequency becomes imaginary, which is hardly perceptible. Therefore zeta cannot be greater than 1 by root 2. However, zeta greater than 1 by root 2 we are not going to consider in real time, because we have already seen in time domain analysis, especially time response of second order system when we discussed in that lecture. So we have seen when zeta is greater than, when zeta is in the range 0.4 to 0.7, that is the ideal operating zeta or ideal range of zeta for the desired response. So omega r is u is equal to omega by omega n, therefore ur is omega r by omega n, therefore omega r is equal to omega n root of 1 minus 2 zeta square. So if we substitute this ur in the expression for m, then simplify, we will get mr. That mr is 1 by 2 zeta root of 1 minus zeta square. Next we have to find out the bandwidth. So bandwidth means gain more than minus 3 dB. That means magnitude expression we have to equate to 1 by root 2. So this u I am making is ub in like how I have made u as ur here. So this ub is the normalized bandwidth. So if you simplify this, squaring this and simplify this, then solving this, then normalized bandwidth is this. So 1 minus 2 zeta square plus square root of 2 minus 4 zeta square plus 4 zeta power 4. Everything raised to the power half, that is square root. Therefore bandwidth is, so normalized bandwidth means omega by omega n. Therefore actual bandwidth is omega n multiplied by this. Now let us correlate the time and frequency domain specifications. So now we have derived the frequency domain specifications. See, if we try to plot the magnitude with respect to the normalized frequency, already we have seen the magnitude expression, this expression. This expression, if you plot with respect to u, when the damping ratio is less than 0.707, it will be like this. So it will be like a normal resonant curve. So it will be a resonant curve like this. where you get the resonance at the resonant frequency omega r by omega n when the damping ratio is less than 0.707. When the damping ratio is exactly 0.707, that is when the damping ratio is exactly 0.707, we get the curve like this. So it is simply decreasing, monotonically decreasing. Here it attains the peak, then it goes like this. Because we have already seen that it is going to attain the resonant frequency at a particular value. So that value is this frequency magnitude, that we can verify using that relation that I have already shown in the previous slide, that m is equal to that. Next, phase angle. Phase angle also I have shown the expression. This phase angle with respect to u, when you plot, we will get like this. This will be the phase angle. We can see here when u is equal to infinity, this is going to be minus 180. So it is going to vary between 0 and minus 180 phase angle. I mean 0 and minus 180 because it is second order. So 2 poles. So 2 poles means 0 to minus 180 only. That we can verify using the previous expression. Right. Now coming to the relations on resonant frequency and peak overshoot. We have already seen that resonant peak doesn't exist after 0.707 because it corresponds to the frequency u are equal to this or omega are equal to this, where zeta can never be greater than 1 by root 2. I have already said the reason here, because if that is so, this will be imaginary. However, this is not a problem to the designer, because when zeta is greater than 1 by root 2, we are not at all bothered about the system response, because system response slows down. So we don't go for designing above 0.707. So even though we have peak overshoot after 0.707 in time domain, this is hardly perceptible. That means after 0.707, the correlation between the frequency and time domain specifications, namely resonant peak and the peak overshoot, breaks. But this is not a problem to the designer. So for peak overshoot in time domain, there is a resonant peak in the frequency domain. So this is the resonant peak and this is the peak overshoot. Anyway, this is going to touch zeta equal to 0 only at infinity. We know the reason very well, because MR is inversely proportional to zeta. Only when zeta equal to 0, it is going to be infinity. Therefore, this line is going to be an asymptote to this MR. That is why this is not joined. This we know how we got, because it is peak overshoot using this relation. Right. Coming to the omega R and omega T. Omega R relation we have already derived in the previous slide, this one. The same thing has been taken and put here. Omega D we have already derived in the time domain specifications. So if we divide one by the other, it is square root of 1 minus 2 zeta square by 1 minus zeta square. So if we plot this with respect to zeta, it will be like this. So it will be like a quarter of a circle. So this is actually a quarter of a circle. So it is a sector. So 25% portion of a circle. So why 0.707 here also? Because when zeta is greater than 0.707, this becomes negative. Therefore, square root will be again imaginary. Why? Because omega R relation is dictated by this zeta. Zeta cannot exceed 0.707. That I have already explained here. So omega R by omega D is like this. So when zeta is 0, 1 minus 0, 1 minus 0 is 1. So it starts from 1 and at 0.707 it becomes 0. So this is the correlation between resonant frequency and damping damped frequency of oscillations. So increase in damping ratio decreases the resonant peak. So resonant peak is increasing damping ratio. That is when I am increasing the damping ratio, resonant peak is decreasing. right? Then resonant frequency also decreases. So when I increase the damping ratio, omega r by omega d, that means resonant frequency also decreases, MR also decreases. So this resonant peak and resonant frequency, so resonant peak is analogous to identical to peak overshoot, and resonant frequency is analogous to or identical to damped frequency. That is what showing here. Resonant peak, peak overshoot, resonant frequency, damped frequency of oscillations in time domain. So that is what shown in the two graphs. So correlation breaks down if the damping ratio is above 0.707, which I have already explained. Then coming to the bandwidth. So bandwidth relation we have shown here. So if we introspect this bandwidth with respect to zeta, so when you increase the damping ratio, bandwidth actually decreases like this. So it attains the value of 1, thereafter it further decreases. So more the bandwidth, generally in communication we say more the bandwidth means noise will enter the system. Therefore filtering of noise will be less, more the bandwidth. However, more the bandwidth means speed will be more. Therefore generally bandwidth indicates or depicts the noise filtering characteristic of the system. Let us understand these frequency domain specifications with the help of two simple examples. Determine the resonant frequency, resonant peak, bandwidth for a system whose transfer function is this. So first of all we have to rearrange this transfer function in the standard form, that is 1 by 1 minus u square plus j 2 zeta u. So in that form it has been written. So divide both numerator and denominator by 5. So that is this. So 5 is 1, this 5 is 1, 2 by 5. So j omega square by 5. So 1 plus 2 zeta omega by omega in j omega, this is the form. So here this j omega square by 5, that is minus omega square by 5, and this is minus omega square by omega n square, that is this omega by omega n whole square is, here it is 1 by 5, that is 1 by root 5 whole square. From this omega n can be written as root 5, right? So omega n is 2.236 radian per second. This can be even written in the straight away from this. Anyway, this is omega n square only. Therefore omega n is square root of that. Even we need not go up to this, but for finding this we may have to go. So 2 zeta omega by omega n is this, 1 plus j 2 zeta u is equal to this. So 2 zeta into omega by omega n, 2 zeta u is equal to 2 by 5 into omega. So omega you can cancel, so g2 cancel, so zeta is equal to omega n will go this side, omega n by 5, therefore 0.45. So we have to simply substitute this omega n and zeta, that is the parameters of second order system, into the expressions of MR, omega r and bandwidth. MR is this expression we have already derived. Substitute this, we will get 1.24. Omega r, we know the expression. Substitute omega and zeta to get omega r, 1.725 radian per second. Bandwidth, we have a big expression. Substitute omega and zeta, we will get 3.0992. So very simple problem. Next problem. The specifications given on a second order control system is that overshoot of the step response should not exceed 25%. What are the corresponding limiting values of damping ratio and resonant peak? Determine the corresponding values for omega p and time to reach peak overshoot when omega n is 10 radian per second. So the condition is should not exceed 25% overshoot. Overshoot expression we know from the time domain specification, 100 e power minus zeta by root of 1 minus zeta square percentage, that is 25%. So e power minus zeta by root of 1 minus zeta square is 0.25. So taking natural logarithm, ln of 0.25 is this. So ln of e power minus this is ln of e is 1, therefore this will be this. Then this root of 1 minus zeta square is brought to this side. Then minus minus plus. So zeta pi equal to this. So squaring on both sides. So square root will go. So zeta square, this if it is brought to this side, zeta square into pi square plus 1 plus 1.92 equal to 1.92. So if we simplify, you will get zeta equal to this expression, and zeta is 0.4. So again we have to substitute in the respective expressions like the previous problem. So damping ratio we have determined first case. Then resonant peak. So use this relation, find out resonant peak. Corresponding value of omega p. Omega p means peak value of the frequency, that is a resonant frequency. Use this and find out the resonant frequency. Then time to reach peak overshoot is nothing but your peak time. Peak time is pi by omega d or pi by omega in root of 1 minus zeta square from time domain specifications of a second order system. Substitute that, you will get this. So in this presentation, that is lecture 12, we have correlated time domain specifications and with the frequency domain specifications. So what we have understood is we have actually seen a second order system. That second order system, whatever we have discussed the time domain specifications, the same thing we have correlated with the frequency domain specifications. So we have derived the expressions for resonant frequency, then resonant peak, then bandwidth, then we have correlated the resonant peak with the peak overshoot, the resonant frequency with damped frequency of oscillations. Then we have said that bandwidth is actually indicating of noise filtering characteristics, even though it is indicating the speed of the response. So more the bandwidth, that is more the speed, less will be the noise filtering. Even we have seen lesser the rise time, overshoot is also more we have seen. Like that, bandwidth is more means noise filtering characteristic will be less, that also we have seen. We have seen for a second order system. Of course, for third order system also we can use the dominant pole approach and correlate, but we cannot exactly correlate the third order system time domain specifications with frequency domain specifications. So we have to do some approximations. Thank you.